think that could be it there. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. I'm just going to give a quick sound check. Can you hear us there, Kevin? No. Have we a problem with sound? It's okay? Right, very good. Once again, everyone, thank you for joining us as we continue our Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. This evening, we're going to continue these live videos for the intention of giving you, the public, a library and a map if you want to look at the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. In the previous three videos, we've covered the theft of the car in Clogherhead, County Louth. That was allegedly used in the modern robbery at Lordship Credit Union. We obviously in our videos dispute that. We then covered the border scene and all the anomalies and the serious issues we have with the investigation and how that evidence was presented. Then our last video, we had a look at the burn site, which we said is completely farcical. It is an absolute joke in how and what evidence was presented to the jury and to the court. So tonight, we're going to very briefly run through the Fictional Gang. So obviously we're moving into next week 10 years since the modern robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And for those full 10 years, we've had a number of senior members from Garda Síochána, politicians, Garda commissioners, assistant commissioners, and high-ranking officers at all levels from Garda Síochána tell you, the Irish public, that the 5 people involved in the modern robbery will be brought to justice and prosecuted for the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. Now, to date, obviously, that has not happened. And the reason that has not happened is there is no gang associated with Aaron Brady. And as I've said in the details in relation to this YouTube video, it is something that the public really get it very hard to grasp. And I suppose that's the whole idea of why you would do this. It gives you an opportunity to be able to focus on a certain aspect of the case and have a look at it. And just below here, we have 12 links to 12 different videos highlighting how there is no gang that can be associated with Aaron Brady. Now, obviously, a gang did attack the credit union and they did commit the crimes. So that's obvious. We know that happened. But none of Aaron Brady or the people who were accused along with Aaron Brady and named could not have been part of that gang. They were not there. They simply had nothing to do with the modern robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And we also have to take into account, we know for a fact that 5 people committed the robbery and the murder. 4 people jumped over the wall at the back of the credit union, which is quite clear in CCTV footage, that's not disputed. And obviously we had the woman driving the car. And we have covered this in relation to the murder scene, but in relation to the gang, the actual evidence, physical evidence, quality evidence, fact has been airbrushed out of the scene to lead on Garda Síochána to the proper gang and to those people who murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. So we know for a fact there was a female driver, 25 to 30 years old, driving the getaway vehicle. She has been totally airbrushed out of the case. And the reason she has been airbrushed out of the case is because Garda Síochána could not link a female with blonde hair to Aaron Brady or any of the other people who have been accused of the modern robbery. We had a female worker from the credit union was adamant, well, she was 100% sure that the man that attacked her car had a Dublin accent. That too has been simply airbrushed. So that member of the gang has been airbrushed out of on Garda Síochána's investigation into what happened at Lordship Credit Union. So this is proof positive that An Garda Síochána have tampered with the evidence in relation to the gang who committed the murder and robbery. And then we must take into account, and I think it would be accepted by everyone, that there would be people on the periphery, on the outside of the 5 people that actually physically committed the murder and robbery, who either helped with logistics, preparation, and the lead up and immediately after the murder and robbery. So we'd have to, I think we can assume that there had to be at least 1, 2 or 3, possibly 4 other people. And yet again, An Garda Síochána fall pathetically short of, they can't even get 5 people, not to talk of 9 people. And in fact, a very cynical and pathetic move again was made by An Garda Síochána to actually point out a gentleman in court and say that he was part of the logistics of this gang, when that gentleman actually had no contact whatsoever with they're actually his family members that were allegedly part of the gang. They had no contact because of an ongoing dispute, a family matter. So there was absolutely no contact with these people. So how can we have someone head of logistics, as pointed out by Senior Investigating Officer Mr. Pat Murray and by Senior Counsel for the Prosecution Mr. Brendan Graham? It is a lie, and both of those men knew, while they were acting in court and pointing at a man in court that was allegedly some way involved in the logistics, it was nonsense they were talking. If someone's head of logistics, obviously they would have some form of interaction with the gang. And this is highlighted in the videos below. But it gives you, the public, an insight into what's happening here and how the story was curated, manufactured. And again, the whole idea of the gang is, and we revert back, and I know we do repeat this, but Sergeant John Maroney and Senior Investigating Officer Mr. Pat Murray took it in their heads that a certain group of fellas committed this murder and robbery. They went down the rabbit hole, refused to come back up, and made a complete mess. Why Pat Murray simply told us in 2016 there was absolutely nothing. Just under 4 years after the murder and robbery, they had absolutely no evidence. And then they had to start to create and manufacture and move goalposts left, right and centre to try and create a gang, and they still have not created a gang. Now, obviously, there's an ongoing case with 2 men. We are not going to go into any of the details. I mentioned that. I don't want to jeopardise that in any way. But we can see clearly that they're at least 2 short in the gang 10 years later on. There's something seriously wrong. In the most extensive investigation in the history of the Irish state, it makes absolutely no sense. It's pathetic, and it is beyond believable. So then we move to a situation where senior members of An Garda Síochána and probably most specifically Senior Counsel Mr. Brendan Graham started dropping names during the trial and in court, and just mentioning names that were involved in the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And very luckily, only I think it was Aaron and some of the junior counsel found CCTV footage of these certain people, and it meant it was impossible for those people to have been involved in the murder and robbery. Brendan Graham, on a number of occasions, pathetic and scandalous accusations against 2 girls in particular. He named suspect B's girlfriend as a possible driver, and An Garda Síochána had CCTV footage of that young girl driving through Dundalk at the time the murder and robbery was taking place. He then made another pathetic attempt to throw out into the ether that a friend of Aaron's had a girlfriend who had short blonde hair. And I've mentioned this before, and it's mentioned in the videos. This young girl was actually going through cancer treatment at the time and was quite ill. So Graham's attempt was pathetic and sickening. To create a false narrative, to create a gang that simply does not exist. And that continued for vast periods of time during the course of Aaron's trial, very specifically in October, November, December in 2018, when Brendan Graham continually mentioned the brothers in Boston, the brothers this, the brothers that. And then when it became apparent that we had found CCTV footage and evidence was there that this young man could not have been in the car park of Lordship Credit Union, Brendan Graham stopped using his name. And looking back, again, I can only use the word pathetic and sickening that a prosecuting counsel in association with the DPP, the Irish judicial system, would stoop so low and really scrape the bottom of the barrel to try and get anyone for a conviction to save their face. And we've created another video you'll see here, a Garda named Karen Coughlin. During the course of the trial, she was dealing with some of the phone records of the suspects, and the court had a number of TV screens up around the court, and in association with Mr. McGooey from Abbeyshrew Airport, he's also a lay Garda, he and Karen Coughlin were given some information in relation to phone activity. And Karen Coughlin put 5 or 6 photographs of young men up on the screens and stated quite clearly that Aaron's girlfriend back in 2013 had changed the details of these people during the course of the night, the early hours of the morning, immediately after the Modern robbery. And it was very disconcerting at the time when this was put up on the screen, and it looked absolutely terrible, to tell the truth. And we couldn't understand it. But in a very brief analysis of the situation and looking into what actually happened, Karen Coughlin failed to tell the jury and the court at the time she was doing the initial presentation that that girl's phone had created 10,000 actions during the course of an update. It happens to all our iPhones, all our Androids. When we do an update, the phone goes through a number of updates in the early hours of the morning, and her phone had created 10,000 updates. And the Gardaí, the DPP, and senior counsel had the gall, the nerve, and the criminality to try and suggest and create a false story that this young girl had changed the information in relation to 5 or 6 of her friends and Aaron's friends. And it is proof positive that there was a concerted attempt by the authorities to create a false narrative. So I hope that gives some insight into the very worrying behaviour of Garda Síochána and the DPP in relation to the gang. If you Google any amount of the gang associated with the robbery at Lordship Credit Union, you will see numerous statements and proclamations by the authorities that all these people will be brought to book, will be brought to justice, will come and knocking on your door. All these things have been said. And yes, we are 10 years on now, and no gang has been put together, or there has been no evidence to show that there actually was a gang that undertook the Modern robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And when we put that on top of all the false evidence in relation to the Burnside, the murder scene, and the theft of the car and Clogherhead, it shows you the disgrace and how disgusting this investigation and prosecution really, really is. So once again, I hope that gives everyone some insight. I'll repeat again, we're doing these lives, so we're sort of creating a library. And after each video, the relevant videos we've created in the recent past and back 18 months ago or whatever are directly under this video. So the 12 videos in underneath here, this live, are all related to the fictional gang and shows us how the state tried to create a gang that simply does not exist. And I will say once again, all of the members of the gang who attacked and murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue 10 years ago are still at large. And that falls firmly at the doorstep of Fort Apache Garda Station in Dundalk. So I think that's just a simple little video, and hopefully the videos below if you want more detail. And please, if you're looking at the videos, if there's anything you're not sure of, anything you want to question, if there's something we've left out, if you think there's something we've embellished, please let us know and we'll deal with it as soon as is possible. I think on Thursday evening, we're going to start trying to break down the debacle and the disgusting behaviour again of the authorities in relation to the American aspect of the case. And we're going to try and correlate the videos in relation to how that part of the case was handled and how it was prosecuted. So once again, thank everyone for logging in. Any questions, any queries in relation to the case and the investigation, please let us know and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. And thank you once again, and we'll see you soon at the next video. And many thanks for watching this evening. Thank you, and we'll speak soon.